Hello, I'm Nige. How are you? Yeah, I'm Nige, that guy from YouTube who keeps coughing and sneezing a lot because he's got a stinking cold. That's me. I thought I'd do a little video for the newbies because I keep doing videos of very expensive kits and reviews and building expensive kits and everything. But there are people out there that want to give it a go and want to get started and don't really know where to go and what to get and how to go about it. So I thought maybe I'll do something simple and keep it simple and sort of, you know, take it down a peg into a level where the newer people, the younger people, whatever, can understand what I'm talking about and maybe learn something from it. And then at the end of that, we all win, don't we? So what I've done, I've got hold of this one here. This is the Airfix Eurofighter Typhoon FGR.4, and this is a brand new kit. It's a starter set, and basically a starter set is exactly what it says on the tin. There's everything in this box that you need to make this model. You've got glue, you've got paintbrushes, and you've got paint. All you need is a knife, probably some sandpaper or a sanding stick, you know, a nail file like you get from the supermarket for nail decoration or whatever. One of those will do. A pair of scissors or even some proper cutters for taking the parts off the sprue. But we'll get to all of that you know, in a minute. But basically what this is, it's a starter set, and what they're showing you on here, you've got the main front here. This is the actual kit. This is the model that you're getting. So in this case it's a Eurofighter. And then up here we've got some paints. Now a lot of people sort of question, why have we got blue and white paint for this aircraft? This is just a generic picture, okay? So they're not the paints you get in the kit. What you need to do is look on the back of the box, look on the side of the box or whatever, and it'll tell you how many paints you're getting. And in this case, with this one, it's 6, okay? And then over here you can see we've got a couple of paintbrushes and some glue, which I think are basically the same for every starter set you get. Now the smaller, cheaper ones will only have 3 paints or maybe even 2 paints, and maybe only 1 brush. But generally, the nice ones like this one runs at about 18 to 20 pounds if you shop around, and you know, this is on the higher end of the scale price wise for the starter sets, but it does have 6 paints, it has 2 brushes, and it has a tube of glue. So it's all in all very good value, and it builds into a beautiful model. There are a couple of little snag areas I've been told about. I haven't experienced them myself. I haven't built this model. I haven't even looked at it out of the sprues, out of the bags. But I'm told there are a couple of areas that need some attention. And my objective here is to show you how to go about getting this together and getting the nicest job out of it we can, but without using expensive tools, plastic card and all that. When I build this, I will be doing build videos on it and taking you through step by step. I won't be using this glue, and I won't be using the supplied paints. There we go, there's my first pause for a cough. Yeah, I'm going to be using my own paints rather than these, and I'm going to be using my airbrush to paint things, because at the end of the day I want to build a lovely looking model. And in my opinion, the paints and the brushes will not give you the absolute finish that I'm looking for. What I'm going to do is, I've got a Spitfire up there that Moss kindly gave me. I intend to build that in the near future, and I'm going to do it totally out of the box, as the beginner would. I'll use the glue, I'll use the brushes, I'll use the paint, and then I'll just have a knife and a sanding stick or something, and that'll be it. And I have to do it out of the box. But this one, I'm going to use my own paint. I'm going to use Outlaw Paints Barley Grey, which is the correct colour for a Typhoon. I'm going to spray it using my Galeri airbrush. We'll look at that as well. And as far as the glue goes, I'm going to use Tamiya Extra Thin, purely because it's just a much easier to use glue. There we go, there's our second pause. Yeah, I'm not going to use the glue that's in here. I would much rather use Tamiya Extra Thin. I'll show you more of that later. Tamiya Extra Thin is basically a liquid cement rather than a tube cement like this. So it's much easier to use. I mean, nobody in the modelling world these days who does this for a hobby, you know, other than just picking something up from a supermarket, nobody uses tube glue anymore. Everybody uses liquid. But there we go. So in here we obviously got a box of plastic parts. There will be in a plastic bag. There'll be a plastic bag with paints. And on the back here we've got a painting guide, and you can see on here it's telling us the colours to use. Across the bottom here we've got the 6 paints that we've got in there. We've got a silver, a black, a white, a metallic grey sort of colour, the grey for the actual aircraft itself, the light grey, and a darker grey for the nose. Okay, so as you can see, we've got a grey all overall finish and then a darker grey nose. There are no weapons included in the kit, but it does have undercarriage, and it also comes with a stand. So if you want to build it with the wheels up and have it on that stand, this is what's called a shadow stand, and the base of the stand is made to look like a shadow. As you can see, it's very clever. They do the same for the Spitfire, the 109, the P51. But the newer starter sets like these are absolutely ideal. As you'll see in a minute, they are really aimed at the starter, and they go from real basic ground up stuff. Older starter sets and some of the other manufacturers that make starter sets, as they call them, they just put an older cheap kit in a box and call it a starter set. For example, the old Airfix starter set Spitfire would have been like a Series 1 Spitfire in a box with some glue and paint. The newer kits, the newer starter sets, they are specifically designed for starters. So for example, that old Spitfire would have had like 68 parts. The newer one has something like 23. Now, a big part count doesn't mean the kit is better. It sometimes means you get better detail, but a bigger part count doesn't always mean you've got better detail. So it doesn't mean anything really. It just means it's more complex to build generally. But there we go. So without further ado, I'm going to stop waffling. We'll get down to the bench and we'll have a look what's in the box, and we'll go through the basics that you might need to know as a beginner. Okay, so here we go then. We're at the bench and we've got the box in front of us. As I say, the kit number is A55016. You'll find it on Amazon, you'll find it at Airfix.com, you'll find it in lots of model shops and probably in some supermarkets as well. So we'll have a look around the box, and on the side here you can see we've got an image of the actual aircraft itself, and this is the actual size that it is. You can see it's a nice size model. We've got some information there about the actual Eurofighter itself. We've got the dimensions of the model here, so it's going to be 220mm long, has a wingspan of 153mm, and it's got 43 parts. We've got one flying hour there, so we can cut that out and collect your flying hours to be used at airfix.com, and then we have skill level 1. Okay, looking around the side of the box here, we've just got some information here in different languages, and something is always worth looking at with Airfix is here you will have information. Now it's not on this one for some reason, but generally you will find, it's over here on this one, generally it's over here on the box, but you will find it's got model design and tooling 2024, deco schemes and pack design 2024, and this is great. This is what Airfix are doing now. So when you actually look at the kit, you can see model design and tooling is 2024. You know it's a fairly new model. If it says something like 2006 or 1967, then you know it's not a new model, it's just a reboxing of an old one. But generally, with Airfix, they will tell you if it's old because they will call it a vintage classic. Whereas there are other manufacturers that shall remain nameless that actually plaster all over the box new and all this, and it's not new at all. It's 40 years old. They just put it in a new box. So just be mindful of what you're looking at. Scale, if you're thinking about buying a kit and you want to get into the hobby, ScaleMates is your friend. ScaleMates.com. You can go on there and you can say, put in, you know, Airfix 172nd Eurofighter, and then when you see this box image pop up, you can click on it and it will show you a history. And then if this kit is actually just an old kit in a new box, you will see all the historic boxings of it. So yeah, worth looking at. One worth looking at if you want to go and test that out for yourself. Go and look up Revell B-52, you know, the B-52 bomber, and you will be absolutely amazed at the amount of different boxings that kit has come out in. It's absolutely incredible, and how far back it goes. It's still the nicest, most accurately shaped B-52 on the market, but it's very, very old, and you go back and have a look, you'll see all the different boxings it's come in. So go take a look, scalemates.com. So let's get this box open. I've removed the tape to make it easier to do the video, but I haven't actually, I don't know where the tape's gone, I expect Dottie's eaten it. But I haven't actually looked in here myself yet. So we have the instructions. We have either one very long paintbrush or two paintbrushes. That was cool. So we've got two paintbrushes there. We've got our instructions. We've got a box of, or a bag of paint and glue, which is nice. And then we've got our bag of parts. We've got, nice to see, we've got our clear sprue there, separately bagged. I'm going to put the overhead light on now because we're not looking at the glossy box anymore. So we've got a bag of parts here all wrapping around, and this is how stuff gets damaged. And as we can see, we can hear, we've got many parts broken off the sprue. That's unfortunate, very unfortunate. And this is as a result of having parts all bagged up in one bag. So make sure if you are throwing the bag away, make sure there are no parts stuck in there. You see little bits like that. I mean, that's scrap anyway, but you could have small parts that you need for the model. So basically we've got 1, 2, 3, 4 sprues, and we've got our bag of clear there, and then we've got all these parts here which have all broken off. Now that is extremely unfortunate, and it looks like this one here is even broken. So this is a result of bagging everything together, and it's also a result of making sprues like this where the parts are just all hanging around, you know, hanging off the side of the sprue rather than being on a square sprue. If I show you this one, for example, you can see that these sprues in here, the sprue goes all the way around. It's a frame, so the parts are all protected within that frame. So yeah, this is something that Airfix have started doing with their starter sets, unfortunately, and it's not great. So we've actually got parts broken and parts off the sprue, which is a bad start. So that looks like the nose gear. Maybe it's not actually broken, we shall see. But so we've now got to be able to identify these parts, because obviously on the sprue you can see the part has a number. So this is sprue A. Okay, you can see there's an A there. So you can see there's an A there. And we've also got on every here, we've got A35, A36, A38, all that sort of thing on there. So that's our A sprue. So basically what I'm going to do is push all this to one side, push these parts over here. We make sure we don't lose any. So yeah, very, very nice, and it needs a wash. If we look in the instructions, the first thing it will tell us is that we need to wash the parts, and I think this is a candidate for that. But we, unfortunately, because of the way these sprues are designed, we need to make sure we don't lose any parts. We've got a pylon missing from there. We can see there's the pylon, and this is our stand. Okay, and we've got our canards here for the front of the Typhoon. So very nice indeed. And then here we've got our upper wings, we've got exhausts, we've got some pylons, is that? Then we've got a small little part there, I'm not sure what that is. All very nice. Remember, this is all carbon fibre and stuff, so there's no panel line or rivet detail or anything. And then here we've got the spine of the aircraft, we've got the pilot there, and we've got an instrument panel. There's the intakes, there's our nose cone, and here's the underside of the wings. And this is where the problem is. This is this seam here is where there's an issue. So that's what I'm going to show you how to get how to improve. Okay, so there's all our plastic parts. We've obviously got our cockpit here. We've got our cockpit seat there. That's going to get glued into there like that. And then you might choose to use the pilot, you might not. And then we've got parts here. So that looks like it may be a gear door or something. We've got a pylon. There's another gear door there. Front undercarriage, there's half of a wheel, there's another half of a wheel. These bits here, these are what's known as ejector tabs. They actually, where you get the part in the, what can we see one here? Do we have any others? Yeah, here we go. Here we go. These things here are just glued onto the part and they'll have to be removed. They're not glued on, sorry, they're moulded on. But basically they are, we've got rods in the mould, so as the mould comes together, they inject the plastic and then they open the mould, and then there's steel rods that push on these areas. You can see them here, and you can see there's ejector pin marks in here as well, and basically pushes it out of the tool, out of the mould tool, either into the hands of a robot, falls into a basket, or an operator takes it out by hand. So there we go. So those bits were rubbish, we can throw those away, but these bits here we're going to obviously keep. I'll have a little bag or something to put them in a minute. So let's have a look at the instructions. So this is a special little addition for the starter sets, which we'll look at now. And then the instructions are here. And we've got lots of different languages on here. Not suitable for children under 8. For use under adult supervision, read the instructions before use, follow them and keep them for reference. Yes. And on here you'll notice surfaces to be painted should be clean before parts are removed from the sprue. Bit late for that. Wash in warm soapy water, rinse and dry thoroughly, stir paints thoroughly before use. So basically what you want to do is, with something like this where it's got a lot of loose parts, get something like a washing up bowl, some nice, not warm but hot water, not so hot that you can't put your hand in it, but just, you know, nicely hot enough so it can do some degreasing. A teaspoon of washing up liquid, give it a good stir around, and then get your parts in there, give them a good agitate. You know, with your wings and stuff, you could always, while it's in the water, just wipe off the surfaces, but be careful with little detail parts because you'll knock them off or break them, whatever. And then just leave the sprues in that water to soak for half an hour while the water cools down slightly, and then take the parts out, make sure there's no parts in the bottom of the bowl, empty the bowl out, get some cold water in there, or run the parts under a cold tap just to swirl the soap off, and then just leave them to air dry, and that's it. Don't be tempted to use a hairdryer because you may get something too hot and it'll warp, but and also if you use the water too hot it will warp, but if you can put your hand in the water you should be fine. So there we go. So that's what we need to do first. So that's that. And as I say, with a kit like I just showed you with that truck, when the parts are all nice and solid on the sprue and it's a frame, I just wash them in the sink because there's no risk of parts coming off generally. But when you've got frames like this where you've got loose parts hanging off the sides, this is how sprues used to be years ago, and I really don't know why Airfix have gone back to doing it. Because as you can see, it was the same with the lifeboat, all the parts come off the sprues. Anyway, so here's the instructions that come with the starter set. Okay, so you can see we need a nail file, some tweezers, some scissors, clippers, drill, some tape and some pegs. Okay, ordinary clothes pegs, absolutely fine. Tape, you can use ordinary sellotape, but I would thoroughly recommend getting yourself some masking tape. This is the this is Tamiya masking tape. It's one of the best out there. Moss also sells a blue tape. I can't remember the name of it now. This one here, it's readily available, and you can also buy it in like a bag, like this. So you can go to Brooks Models, brooksmodels.com. Okay, there you go there. All right, and he'll have all of this stuff you need here, all of it. And if you spend £15 to £50, you can use the code NMB10. That's Nigel's Modelling Bench 10, and you will get 10% off your order. If you spend over £50, you can use the code NMB20 and get 20% off your order. So he will sell you everything that's on here. So yeah, and you don't need the most expensive stuff. And as far as clippers go, you can use anything if you've got some scissors hanging around, but you can get, you know, the cheaper end cutters like these here. These come from Dave Coley. These are just the pressed steel type, and they're the cheaper end. Or you can go all out and get yourself some god hands like these here, and these are about £40, I think. These, you know, you can get some of these for about a £5, and these are about £40. So they both do the same job. It's just that one is a bit more professional than the other. Depends if you're going to take the hobby up. If you're not going to take the hobby up, you're just going to build this one model because you want a Typhoon in your life, then just use a pair of scissors. Nail files, I always recommend, if you're going to use nail files, go for nice ones like this that are quite stiff. There's also the very thin ones you can get. Here we go, I've got one here. These very thin nail files are also very good. If you're not going to buy your proper sort of sanding sticks for modelling, you know, these you can get in your Tesco's, Asda, whatever. They'll do you absolutely fine. But then as you move on and you progress to higher levels of modelling, you know, moving up with your skills, you might want to get yourself something better. I'd say pegs, just get simple clothes pegs. Drills, you will find drills like this on Amazon with these little plastic things on them, and these drills are awful. Okay, don't buy them. They are awful. Get yourself some of these. Again, these are available from Brooks Models. Look for the micro box. You can also get them. They come in a light blue box like this as well. Okay, they're the same thing, just different packaging. And basically they're I've just done a review about these, and you can get cheaper ones like this. Rob sells these for about £3, and if you're only after something for one or two model projects, those absolutely fine. If you're going to be getting on and buying yourself some more models because you want to get into the hobby, get yourself some of these. These are about a tenner, and but be very careful what you're buying. After I did my video, somebody told me that they went to I can't remember who they said it was now. If I could, I'd name them. But they actually bought, they advertise a picture of these. They charge £10, and then when they come in the post, you get these. So be very wary of who you're buying from, is all I'd say. Because there are people out there that will rip you off without even missing a heartbeat. So there you go, there's your drills. And then as for a drill holder, this is a really good pin vise. This is the David Union 150. And the beauty of this is it will go all the way down to like a 0.2 drill, but it will also open up to like a 5mm drill. So absolutely brilliant. These are available, I think, still from Premium Hobbies down in Weston-super-Mare, or your local supplier will probably have them as well. I don't think Rob has got those. So there we go, and that's tweezers. You can just use some ordinary commoner garden tweezers, like ladies use to, or people use, I shouldn't say ladies, should I? People use to pluck their eyebrows or whatever. You can get some of those, or you can get the proper professional modelling tweezers. For example, these here, these are the Anise tweezers, and they're so sharp they go all the way through your finger. Ask me how I know. And they are absolutely brilliant. And then there's all sorts of, these are the lower end, cheaper ones. You can get like a set of these made in China for about £5 or whatever. I wouldn't bother, just get some small tweezers. You don't need 5 pairs of tweezers. There's not a tweezer for every job, sort of thing. So there we go. So that's your tools. Wash all parts in soapy water. We've already discussed that. Look for frame letters and part numbers. We've already discussed that. Use clippers to remove parts from the frame. I'll cover that when we start the build. Use a fine file to clean up rough edges. I'll cover that when we start the build. Drill holes to fit parts if instructed. Hold small parts with tweezers. Test fit parts before applying glue. One of the most important things about modelling: test fit, test fit, test fit. Don't go chucking glue on there and then find it doesn't fit. Do not use too much glue. Okay, I'll cover that as well. Clip or tape parts together while the glue dries. I'll cover that as well. There's some big mistakes that can be made in this world, and I will get you through that bit. Stir the paints thoroughly. I'm not going to be using these paints, but I might use one or two of them to do a little few detail parts. Paint small parts on the frame. Okay. Allow time to dry between coats. So they're basically saying here, paint the grey, give it a couple of hours before you go over with the green. Cut each decal with scissors. Always use scissors to cut decals. Don't cut decals out with a knife. What happens is when you cut with a knife, you put a raised edge and it makes it difficult to slide the decal off the paper. Hold them in warm water for about 20 seconds. You see people just chuck them in water and leave them in there. What happens there? The glue gets dissolved and you lose the sort of stickiness of the decal. So warm water, 20 seconds, take them out on a bit of blotting paper and let them dry. We'll cover that when we do it. And that, my friends, is that. So this is great they give you this. This is like a real sort of helpful thing to get you going. So let's have a look at the instructions first. So we've got a bit of history about the aircraft itself. We've got talking about its armament, its range and everything. I used to make parts for the engines for these, for the EJ200 engines, and so I've got a little bit of a fondness for them, if you like. So this is like a general set of instructions now. All instructions you get from Airfix will look like this, although these days they do have a bit more red in them, but I can show you that in a minute. So we've got useful hints and tips down here. This up here is just what we've seen over the page in different languages. And then down here we've got this is what's called a sprue call out, and this is basically an image of everything that we've got in the box. So you can check that all your parts are there. Sorry guys, this cough is doing my nutting. So yeah, check all your parts are there. Now obviously on here we've got parts off the sprue, so what we need to do is make sure that we haven't lost anything. I know there's nothing left in the bag, and I know the bag was sealed, so we should be okay. We've got the clear part there, which is still in its bag. Leave that in its bag until you need it, and that way it won't get scratched. Decal sheet, wherever that may be, it's probably in the instructions here somewhere. There it is. So we've got our decal sheet there, which has got some little flashes and low-vis bits and pieces on there, so that's all good to know. So we've got that there ready for the future. And then here, what it's telling you here is they've got them coloured in pink. I'm wondering if pink is the colour code they're using. But what they're telling you here is to remove those little ejector tab bits I showed you just now. So, for example, on here there's one on this wheel. What they're telling you is to remove that ejector tab. It shouldn't be there. Okay, so make sure you remove those. As you follow the instructions to build this model, you will see symbols in the step-by-step drawings. This key explains what the symbols mean. So you've got A1, part number, that's like this C2 here. Times 2, repeat. So that will be something like, when you get to undercarriage, is there anything times 2 in here? I can't see anything, but it's obvious times 2, repeat. Cut, that's like the symbol they've used there, showing you to cut those bits off. Glue, so they've got a yellow triangle, well, a black triangle with a yellow glue sign in it, and they've got a yellow line there where the glue goes. Now, as it says back here, don't use too much glue. You need to be very, very sparing with it. And one of the biggest problems with the tube cement is it dries on the surface quite quickly. So you sort of go around nice and slow around the edge, and you start here, and by the time you get around to there, the glue here is dried. The beauty of using the Tamiya Extra Thin, which I've got here, you can see I've got 3 of them here. The beauty of using those is you put the parts together, you hold them together, and then you apply the cement. Because it's a liquid, the capillary action pulls the glue around the joint. So I'll show you that. It makes life a lot easier, and even at the beginner level, I would thoroughly recommend a bottle of this. Again, you'll get this from Brooks Models, okay? It's about $4.75 I think now, but honestly it's worth every penny, and if you build another model it's going to pay for itself. This glue is what they give you in there just to make it a starter set. It's not the best glue in the world, and even the best, how can I put this, even if this was the best tube glue in the world, it still wouldn't be as good as Tamiya Extra Thin because of its very design. It's difficult to use, it's easy to get messed up with. Get yourself some Tamiya Extra Thin. And then optional parts. I don't think we've got any optional parts in here. Paint colour, so that's telling you what colour to paint it when you've got a square there with a paintbrush. You can see when we get to the cockpit. There we go. Yes, you can see here we've got the rectangle there with the brush in and the number. So it's telling you here to paint that cockpit tub matte black, which is 33. And in there you have a paint 33, so you're going to use that one. And then you've got the red rectangle there, and that is the number for the decal. Come on, open here. You can see here they've got a red rectangle with the number in, that's the decal, and here we're going to use decal 1. So we get to our decal sheet, or decal sheet, and you can see there number 1 is the instrument panel. Okay, so it's all straightforward. When we actually look at the practice assembling each part, we're looking at the drawings in each step before gluing parts together. Always, always, always dry fit. Dry fit, dry fit, dry fit. Can't get that through enough. Okay? Don't put the glue on and then find that, you come to this first step, you've got this lower wing here. Okay, you've got this lower wing. You come along, you've cut it off the sprue, you put the glue all the way around, and then you come to fit the top and you find you've got a big sprue gate here or something, or a big lump of plastic that needs to be sanded off. It's too late, you've put the glue on. Check it first. Always, always dry fit. Okay? Alright, so something else here which is extremely valuable for a starter set is a couple of things here. One, they're showing you here where the parts are on the sprue. So we're going to take sprue C, sorry. So we can see this is sprue C. Okay? This is going to come off. I'm going to actually I'm just going to cut that off of there. Okay, so it doesn't fall off. The problem is when parts break off, it tends to damage them. It tends to pull a chunk out of them, which is why I'm not very happy with these sprue designs. But never mind. So you can see we've got sprue C. So you can see there we've got the sprue layout. We've got our 2 exhausts there. Here we've got some bits and pieces here, down here. So there we go. Now, and you can see what they've done. They've highlighted it in grey. So we need this one here, C2. And then when we look here, we've got sprue B. So you can see here we've got, there's what our cockpit goes, which has come off the sprue. We've got the 2 lower wing sections here. We've got the highlighted one here, this is dark grey. We're going to use that one. So that's telling us where these parts come from. So we're going to take those off the sprue and glue them together. But remember, first of all, we're going to wash everything. And then this next one here, this image shows you how it looks when it's done. So here we're going to add the lower wing to the fuselage. That's an unusual way of doing things, I must admit. So we'll have a look at that. It might be better to bring these two parts together first and then glue them to the bottom of the fuselage. I don't know, we shall see. But I will show you how I'm going to go about it. Okay, if I do change something, like in the build sequence, if I do something differently, I will, 1, show you exactly how I've done it, 2, tell you exactly why I've done it, and 3, show you exactly what you need to do if you want to do it yourself. I will also try doing it as per the instructions, maybe without glue, but here I can see straight away that if we glue this lower wing to the fuselage here, when we bring it all together, we've got a long seam on there to deal with, and we can't get inside to help it out. Whereas if we glue the wings together, we will have this edge and this edge butted up together, and we can deal with it inside and then put the whole thing on the bottom of the fuselage, if the kit allows us to do that. As I say, I will test it and I will let you know, and I will show you what to do. So that's basically what we've done there. We've looked at the first two steps, and I've explained the instructions for you. So what I'm going to do now is just go through as if I was doing a kit review, and we're not going to go into detail about all the sprues and everything. We'll just go through. So basically here, 3 and 4 is basically a repeat of step 1 and 2. Moving over the page here, we've got the cockpit going together. So we've got the instrument panel going down onto the cockpit tub. Again, you can see here they're showing the sprues with the previously removed parts actually removed, and it's showing where that part is that we need, and it's showing the other part there, B8, which we need. Okay, so that's actually still on there. So our instrument panel, our cockpit tub there is gone. The instrument panel is there, ready for us to use. Alright, so here we are now adding the cockpit into the fuselage half there, and then we're bringing the fuselage half along with its wings, bringing those together. Yeah, I think I'd rather see if we can actually, as I say, do it so we can put the wing in underneath after. Okay, so that's that done. It's showing us what it looks like there. Now we're going to build up the intake scoops and put them on. So they're going in down there. And then we're going to add the spine to the top of the fuselage, which is great because it means we don't need to worry about this seam here. So that's good. You can see it there. And then we've got the canards going on, the nose going on, and then we've got this refueling probe going in here in a closed position. We've got some wing end pylons going on there, exhausts. And then coming over the page here, we've got some weapons pylons there going on. We've got gear doors shut. Now here's the options. This is showing option with the undercarriage up. You can see it has no wheels. So if you're going to have your gear doors closed, you just glue them in there, and we're going to stick it on its stand. If you're going to have your wheels down, then what you're going to do is build all your wheels up as they're showing you here, add them to the undercarriage legs, add the gear doors. It's telling you what colour to paint everything in here, as you can see. And then coming down, what colour was 34? 34 is white. Okay, so the inside of the gear doors and everything are going to be white, and the actual gear legs themselves are white, so that'll all look very attractive. Really, really nice against the grey. All the wheel bases you can see are white as well, so that'll look nice. And then basically building all of that up, and then adding the undercarriage here. So we've got the main legs going down in here, and then we come over the page, we're going to build the nose gear up, and then add the nose gear with its door, and that's it, we're pretty much done. So we can turn it over, stand it on its legs, and insert the seat. If you want to insert the pilot, if you're having it flying, obviously you're going to have to put a pilot in there. If you don't want to put a pilot there because you don't want to paint him or whatever, then don't worry about it, you don't have to put it in there. And then we're going to add the canopy. I'll show you about gluing that. Oh, it's telling you not to glue it. Okay, so that just clips in, obviously. That's a good design. Add decals at this stage. See rear of pack for positions. And then we can stick it onto our stand. Have it in flight with the wheels down if you want to, or have it sat on the ground and don't use the stand. It's entirely up to you. But if you don't use the stand, you can see you've got this huge cutout in the bottom here. There's half of it there, you can see. And that's designed to sit for the end of the stand to slot into. If you're not going to use the stand, you might want to fill that up. I'm not sure. Do they give you a bung to go in there? I don't think they do. No. You could always just cut the end, put the stand in there and cut it off and glue it. That's that whole bunged up. So there we go. So there we are. So that's basically the contents of the kit, along with the paints and the clear parts and the brushes and everything. And there we are. We're ready to go. So first thing I'm going to do, I'm not going to start the build in this video, but I am going to check my parts. So we can see on here, I should have put the instructions away. We can come on here and we can look at our, and this is the same, you do this for any model kit you're buying. So we'll take our, let's fold this in half, make it easier to see. So you can see here we've got this sprue here is, this is sprue B. So that one's going to go up there. This is sprue D. So that one's going to come down there like that. And then here we've got, let's get these loose bits out of the way. Here we've got sprue C down here and then sprue A up there. So we can look along here and we can see we've got a part missing from there. So that's our rear wheel, our main wheel. So that's going to go in there. Okay, put this over so it's not so cumbersome. Okay, so we can see we've got that part there. Now we're coming around and you can see we've got 3 gaps here, 4 gaps on this one here. So this is part A35, so that's going to be our nose wheel. So that one's going to go in there. Let's get this away from this sprue here. Okay, so that one's going to go in there. Then this one here is going to be a door. So we've got, there's our door there, that's the one with the 3 legs, A38. And then going up from that we've got A22. We can see that's that one because it's got the little pink. Oh, that's why it's showing you pink here, remove those bits. And then we've got our nose gear here. That's going like that. And that's it. And you can hear Dottie chewing the chair leg. Not the chair leg, the table leg. Good, isn't it? She's got lots and lots of toys, and she's decided that she prefers to chew the table leg, which is fine because it's steel. And there we go. And then coming across here, you can see sprue B. We've got a piece missing there. Well, that's the cockpit there. There's a piece missing here, off camera slightly, but you can see there's a piece missing there, which is the seat. So there's the cockpit seat. And then finally on this one here we've got a pylon missing, which is there. So there we go, we have got a complete kit, so we've checked off all our parts, and there we go. So the next thing we need to do now is wash it. So I'll go away and wash it, and then I'll come back and I will see you sometime in a day or so, and we'll carry on with part 1 of the build. And as I say, we won't necessarily stay with the instructions, but if I do veer away, I will show you exactly how, I will tell you why, and I will show you how to do it properly, do it normally as well, properly I say, but as they instructed. But you will find, especially if you're going to get into this hobby, you will find, especially with some of the newer manufacturers from Asia, you will look at their build sequences and think, that's a bit strange. For example, a lot of them will have you put the fuselage halves together and then add the nose gear. And that way then, for the whole rest of the build, you've got this flimsy little nose gear sticking out the bottom of your fuselage here, like this, just asking to be snapped off. So, you know, if they do that, then try and veer away from it and come back and fit your gear at the end, just like they're telling us to do in this one here. A perfect example of it, you'll see in my Hatchet Lancaster videos, that in step 1, you have a fuselage half, and they tell you to add a pitot tube in step 1, and it's just going to get broken off. It's a plastic pitot tube being glued to a metal part of the fuselage. Just leave it till the end. When it's up on its stand and it's all done, stick the pitot tube on then. Why put it on now? It's just going to get broken off. So that's my little recommendations for you. And there we go. So I will see you all back after I've cleaned these parts, and we'll go from there. So thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. If you look down there, you can see there's my face. If you hit my face, you click on there, hit the notifications bell, and you'll be notified of when I'm bringing videos out, which is quite a lot. I'll see you all soon. Thank you for watching. Bye for now.